across the country and across the world.
You are the Secretary General of the National Unity Platform, Uganda's biggest opposition party right now. That makes you such an important figure in the party, and you have a presidential campaign that is going on, but you also have your own campaign that you are going to start very soon. We have seen the crowds in different parts, but just give us a synopsis of the rough and tumble of a presidential campaign from your own perspective.
Well, we are very, very excited. We're very delighted that the people of Uganda have been welcoming our presidential candidate so much. Everywhere he has gone, despite the challenges that we've had, in this campaign. But I think those who initially dismissed us as a wave and all sorts of things can see that we're here and we mean business. We are here, we want to take power in this country and make the lives of the people of Uganda better. So we are delighted, that's what I must say, because you've seen everywhere our president, the Honorable Robert Sentamu Kyagulanyi, goes. You see tens of thousands of people come out to see him, to receive the message of change. In fact, what we are grappling with is now time, because as opposed to the last election cycle, where we are fighting every day with police, with the military and all these things. Now, again, on account of so much pressure that was put there, the sanction that followed the last election, I think this time around they have decided to behave, and we are grateful for that. So we've been able now to reach out to many more people, and you see that on a daily basis, our presidential candidate does an average of 6 to 8 stopovers, and then maybe 2 major rallies, but many, many stopovers in the district where he goes.
You're beginning with comparing this presidential campaign and the previous presidential campaign. In fact, you have said that they have spared you, they haven't touched you. Today, I was talking to one of the new, contestants in Kawempe local council elections, I think Dr. Shamim Nambasa. And she said, she used the word, you know what, Patrick, they have not yet beaten us. And I really marked that they have not yet. So let me ask the Secretary General, is there an anticipation that Kiboko will come?
Well, first of all, it shouldn't be an expectation, because this is what it should be. I mean, we shouldn't be there even appreciating the police, the military, the state for not beating citizens is a big contradiction, because
this is what you've just done. You said you are grateful.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, that we live in a country where you find yourself having to be grateful for just being able to exercise your fundamental rights. Because human rights are inherent, they're not granted by the state. So citizens should not be appreciating the state apparatus for not beating them up. But we are in that situation. I mean, even right now, there is a lot of oppression that has been going on. The double standards, you see NRM doing its processions and all that. When it comes to NUP, you've seen the different blockades. You've seen the police many times block roads and try to push us to very, very lengthy routes. You've seen the very, very big injustice on our party, where the regime, using all manner of things, blocked funding to NUP. The money that political parties are entitled to, NUP has been deliberately sidelined. So there have been many, many injustices. But because right now we don't see a lot of tear gas, we don't see a lot of bullets, we've not registered dead bodies, we are saying at least there is some bit of sanity, even when there is a lot of injustice going on. So that's why I'm saying
So you're saying this sanity, Louis, is brought because you previously put a lot of pressure, and also the international community put pressure in Uganda, and you think that we don't want to touch these people, they don't want to touch these people to cause themselves trouble? Or what really explains the sanity, even though sanity is what we require?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, I think it's on account of the pressure, and I want to appreciate the people of Uganda after the last election. There was a lot of, people were protesting globally, people were calling for sanctions, different sanctions were put in place. You saw the international community refusing to recognize the last election and legitimizing the regime and all that. So I believe that all that played a role in what we see today. And that is, again, to speak to the idea of people power. People need to understand that every action they take, whether it is a protest, whether it is writing letters to the leaders, whatever you can do in your big or small power contributes. So I think what we see is not that the regime now all of a sudden wants to open up the political space.
Haven't you yourselves also changed? Because it takes two to tango. Because I remember the other day you were trying to do some kind of military drills, and those who are bringing you trouble, you're putting on, something closer to looking like a military fatigue, even though in different colors. And all those things seem to have been reduced now. You seem to be less militant yourselves.
First of all, I want to say that for us all, what we always demand is basic human rights.
But do you agree that
in the last election, for example,
do you agree that even yourselves have changed the tactic? You seem to be more, with all respect, more civil, and that element of militancy seems to have evaporated.
No, first of all, we've never been militant. And I want to, maybe I'll come back to that, but I can even address it right away. I'm sure you saw videos of the Secretary General of NRM, Richard Todong. I think it was 2 weekends back, when he was with these people putting on yellow, singing military songs, drilling. For them, they're even doing real military drills. And you did not see the police spokesperson to come out to say anything. You did not see the DPP sanctioning any charges against those people. For us, what we've been doing, it's okay to have a parade. It's okay to to organize yourselves in any way, because we've never been militant as the National Unity Platform. We have been talking about non-violence as our, our ideology, as something we believe in and something we practice. So we are non-violent. But like you know very well, the regime fears organization. The regime does not want to see young people singing songs of resistance, singing songs of protest. All that, they criminalize it. So what I want to say is that we have never been militant. And yes, out of the oppression, the suppression, all these crimes that are committed against us, sometimes our people may retreat. But retreat is not surrender. That's what people need to understand. Some people may, decide to change tactic. But I can even say that sometimes dictators make very, very big mistakes to assume that when you suppress people so much that you have succeeded in doing that. But this spirit, the yearning for change, keeps boiling in people, and maybe one time those people will be able to come up and say enough is enough.
So you have a slogan of a protest vote, and really Ugandans have their own problems, have their own pain, and we expected you to be able, even on your posters, to be putting something that shows what you want to do for Uganda, but you chose to pick the word to protest. So what is in it for them?
First of all, on our posters, for example, on our presidential poster, there is a new Uganda now. A new Uganda now is our promise for the country, that we want to have a fresh start for this nation. We want to have a fresh start in terms of economic development, in terms of inclusive economic development, in terms of healthcare, education, quality public services in every sense, infrastructure. All these things are entailed in our manifesto, which we launched and later on unpacked at our headquarters, and our manifesto is available online for everyone to see. So we have all these ideas for the country. But we know that we cannot reach those ideas until we are able to take power. And how do we take power? Through a protest vote. So yes, there are two things on our poster. One is a new Uganda now. That is our promise. How do we get to a new Uganda? Protest vote. And so we are asking the people of Uganda to come out in large numbers this time around and vote. Participate in voting. Realize that your vote is such a powerful tool. Because, we have a problem now. Because General Museveni and his system have been rigging votes, suppressing the vote and all that. So there is a lot of apathy. Many people do not come out to vote. If you look at the statistics in terms of the voter turnout, it is very, very low. So why we are talking about a protest vote is the strategy through which we are able to achieve a new Uganda now.
But, when you look at the message, many have been criticized. You have been criticized because the message is thin on policy. The message is thin on exact thing that you need to do, and somehow there is things of we're tired. We need a new Uganda, but you never seem to go deep. Even when we hear you, we see you on the campaign trail to explain what exactly you want to do.
I don't know if you've had time to actually watch.
I've listened.
The presidential rallies, but I also don't know if you have had time to read our manifesto and go into it and see what we are promising. Because you know, I've been seeing people on Twitter saying that now NUP is running an issue-based campaign, which they should not be doing, that they should be doing the rubberizing that they've always done. So you never know what people want, because when you go so much into the rubberizing, people say talk policy. When you talk policy, they say no, go back to rubberizing. But I can tell you that this campaign, we're trying to do a balance. That's what we're trying to do. And in this campaign, if you listen to what our president has been talking about, we are talking about policy. We're talking about how best we can change this country. For example, one of the things we're talking about is a school feeding program, which we think can get people out of poverty. We're saying that it can improve education, it can get people out of poverty, and it will achieve many, many things if we are able to implement it. We are saying that every learner must have a hot meal a day, at least a cup of porridge and an egg. You know, porridge with milk and an egg. And we are saying that if we are able to implement that, and we've done the figures and indicated that, for example, the money that goes into PDM is more than enough to implement this program and ensure that the farmers benefit, ensure that the teachers, you know, participate in the learning processes of the children. It is going to be able to revive PTA, parents and teacher associations.
Have you bothered to find out, for example, how many children we have in primary and kindergarten?
Oh, yes. I've told you that if you look at our manifesto, it has a clear plan of how we intend to achieve all this.
Is it actually feasible that you will be able to feed each child across Uganda in primary school with an egg and all these things you're talking about?
Oh, yes. It is achievable. Like I said, just go to our manifesto and you'll see we are giving you the figures. And we are also saying that, first of all, this is going to help the farmers. It's going to help the learners, because we've been trying to interrogate why. You know, very many children come into primary school, P1, and then over 1 million of them somehow drop out of school every other year. So one of the reasons is because of this issue of feeding. And we think that if children have a meal at school, that is one way of enticing them, making sure they're at school. In addition to other factors, you know, you look at the equipment in the laboratories, you look at the libraries, you look at the teachers who are not motivated, you look at the infrastructure, you look at many, many other factors which contribute to school dropout rates and all that. Even in terms of the inspectorate of schools and all these problems that have, and we are providing solutions going back to the basics, and that's why we're talking about a new Uganda now.
So I know your candidate is going to northern Uganda through Kiryandongo tomorrow and then Apache, right?
Oh, yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And well, you picked momentum in Busia, picked momentum in Hoima. You think you'll go with the same momentum in northern Uganda?
Absolutely. Wait and see. On Monday we shall be in Lira, and I'm sure you'll see. I mean, the yearning for change is all across the country. And there's no party or movement that represents the yearning for change as a national unity platform. So that is why everywhere we go,
wait a minute. Whereas you can, well, just thump because of the crowds, but equally, President Yoweri Museveni, the NRM candidate, has been having phenomenal crowds in Lango, in Acholi and West Nile. And for the person you could say that the government could say, for them to have been in power for 40 years, you would think maybe the people are tired, but they are not. They are coming up in big numbers, Lewis. I
thought that should be explained, because you see, when you have an entrenched system, they're able to do all sorts of machinations to help these people. What I can say is that the National Unity Platform crowds that you see are organic. The ones of NRM are genetically modified.
You also move with the big crowd.
No, I'm telling you that
escorting your candidate.
Haven't you seen everywhere we go? I mean, you saw in Busia, you saw in Hoima.
Yeah, but Busia, that was a narrow stretch.
I mean, what I'm trying to say is that people wait.
That was a narrow street.
What I'm saying is that people, even when they know that our president has slept in a particular place, they come from all over the district to come and be able to listen to what he's saying. For NRM, on the other hand, you've been seeing them ferrying people. You've seen letters from the Chief Administrative Officer of Adjumani instructing schools to bring these pupils and students to attend General Museveni's rally.
The same person said that was fake.
No. He actually wrote a letter rescinding this one, saying now, because he had been exposed. But you've seen the pictures. You see that half the crowd, which is at the NRM rallies, these are children who do not vote. But if you look at the people who come out to our activities, these are people...
I know, Lewis, this is a campaign time. Everybody wants to have a better argument and better persuasion. But let's face the fact that President Yoweri Museveni, as a candidate of NRM now, still has got what it takes in pulling the people. You would think maybe they wouldn't come because he's been here long, but he does.
But I've told you that, first of all, this whole business of ferrying people, giving them rice and meat, and doing whatever, I mean, we don't have that capacity, and people come to our rallies not expecting meat, they don't come expecting rice, they just come expecting the message, just that. And you see the excitement with our people, you see a lively audience. When we are addressing them, you see faces full of hope and a determination to change their country.
But for you to be on the national television and saying people are going to a crowd to rally because of meat and rice is abusing them.
No, come on, that is the case. Just show me any rally they've not had and they are serving rice and meat and doing all sorts of things. You know, because they know that they have nothing to promise to the people. I mean, I watched one of the speeches where they were saying that, you know, for the 40 years they've been building a foundation, now it's time to build a modern state. And I was like, come on, after 40 years you say that for all the 40 years you've been building a foundation, and now you're going to start building? And these, again, are empty promises. These people have nothing left to offer. Just look at their manifesto promises in the 2020 manifesto, and you compare what have they been able to achieve in that time.
Your presidential candidate has been heavily criticized for suggesting that he wants to pull off the parish development model. Are you, as a NUP, really convinced that that PDM is bad for Uganda?
As a matter of fact, I think he was misquoted, and he did not say he wants to scrap it off. The argument has been that there can be a better alternative to PDM. There can be a better alternative. I've just told you, for example, about the parish, the school feeding program. As if you compare it, because one of the challenges in this country, Patrick, is the Museveni system believes in the system of patronage. It believes in the system of handouts instead of giving people a hand up. And we are talking about parish development model, but the parish development model comes on the heels of several other failed programs. There was a youth livelihood project, there was Entandikwa, there was a Myoga, there was Prosperity for All. All these, every election cycle, they come up with something new.
But Mr. Bongoya, there's been an overwhelming conviction that parish development model has put money direct in people's pockets. It is something you cannot take away from them or even think about taking, because it is what I hear from some of them. It has changed some of these parishes. Because you have 1 trillion, 100 million every parish across Uganda. It's unprecedented.
First of all, if you're just looking at the beneficiaries and the people who are watching us, the other time when Gen 7 was moving around, apparently monitoring these projects, you had the testimonies of people. Everyone was saying, you know, I was entitled to 1 million, I got only 500,000 shillings, the other money was lost in corruption. The Auditor General's report indicates the massive corruption that has been, you know, involved in the PDM.
The execution challenges.
That's what I'm saying. That for us,
execution challenges, granted, but
the execution challenges,
worked.
The execution challenges have been in every similar project that they have brought. And for us as NUP, we are bringing better programs which will empower people. And you know this whole idea of urgency, the people being involved in their own development, the people being involved in working for their own prosperity, you know, not handouts that are, you know, tagged to patronage. You know that on the committee for PDM, the parish committee, there has to be an NRM chairman and all that. All this is patronage, and we have been saying we can do better as a country. Every citizen should benefit. Every citizen should benefit from government programs. You cannot say that on the committee there will have to be an NRM person. I mean, for us as NUP, many people came to us when the PDM was rolled down initially, and people are being told that we know you are NUP, you're not going to benefit. We know you're this, you're not going to benefit. So we've said that we are suggesting better policies and better programs that will get people out of poverty. We've talked about empowering the elderly, the women, the youth, all these groups will have a better plan for them than what we see currently. And we are saying that the 10 trillion which we lose in corruption every year, that money can actually change the lives of the citizens of this country. We have talked about creating 10 million jobs through empowering tourism, further industrializing the country. And, you know, like I said, all these are stated and laid down very well in our manifesto.
So for you to be able to do that, you'll need, you know, foot soldiers in terms of leaders on the other platforms and other administrative units.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at the nomination, David. You know, there are some areas where you do not have even contestants, and I'm wondering if you are able to have members of parliament running in every constituency. Maybe you'll go about 60%.
Yeah, first of all,
he's performed well. And remember, if you have an MP, he can campaign for himself and also campaign for your presidential candidate. So that's a gap. To begin with, you're not going to field MPs in every constituency. The
question should be why. The question, it's just not, it shouldn't be just a question.
It's a revelation of weakness.
No, the question of why. I mean, I hope we all agree, we know where we are living. Right now as we speak, we don't know where the candidate who we fielded for Bukedea is. For woman MP, as I speak right now, we don't know where she is. Because she was moved from Soroti towards Bukedea.
Is that Asio?
Yeah, Asio. And we don't know where she is. I mean, since yesterday we've been receiving calls of candidates who have either been abducted, those who have been intimidated, and those who have been compromised. With your money, the money you pay in taxes, they call this person because they know he's going to run under NUP. Say, why are you running under NUP? Let's give you 20 million shillings or 10 million shillings. And they just don't give them this money. They also follow it up with a threat that if you don't take this money, you're either going to disappear, you're either going to be tortured, your businesses are going to,
so are you telling
be run down?
Are you telling Ugandans watching tonight that the lady who was supposed to run for Bukedea, this woman MP, Asio, is totally nowhere to be seen?
I mean, she's missing. I mean, we've been in touch with the family this whole evening and they don't know where she is. They've also been asking us, where is this lady? Where could you, do you know where she might be?
I've just seen a video of the Honorable Anita Mong, in fact, with other friends of, you know, congratulating her and celebrating.
That's what I'm saying.
Celebrating the going through unopposed.
That is the irony. And it's not just in Bukedea. I've told you that there are many other parts of the country where this is happening. Even in Ruhinda, many of our candidates have been frustrated, just like happened with LC5 elections, where we had over 10 LC5 chairpersons blocked from nominating and all these other things.
It's very hard to believe, David, that a potential candidate during nomination time can disappear in thin air without even any agent or any campaign manager or personal assistant or relative to see that person.
But are you really suggesting that you live in this country? Right now there are two Kenyan brothers of ours.
But they were seen.
Yeah, I mean, the point I'm making is...
So there's no one who has seen Asio being taken?
Did you see what happened, what the court said today? The court said that these Kenyans somehow disappeared in thin air, and I saw the judge saying that he cannot squeeze blood out of a stone, and therefore he says that it hasn't been proven. Even when there are people who watched, who saw these people being taken, these Kenyan friends of ours, the court has said it wasn't witnessed. Even in this case,
so no one,
Asio, for example,
has come out from Bukedea to say either at the home of Asio or maybe on the street or where she's driving. I mean, because like yourself,
but
right now, you cannot be walking alone.
No, the point is that she was not alone. She was with other people whose phones are off.
So other people?
I'm saying that the phone numbers of all the comrades she was with are off currently. And again, I don't want to go so much into that because we don't know what is happening right now. We're waiting for more facts to come out. But the point I'm talking about is the environment. That when you're saying that why doesn't NUP have candidates in certain places, there are several factors. But one of them, the most and leading factor, is intimidation. You know, candidates in Karamoja being told that you cannot run under NUP here. You know, candidates going and they say you'd rather run under any other political party but not NUP. Then you talk about the question of funding. I just told you a few minutes back that the National Unity Platform has been deliberately denied public funding. Now,
you actually didn't want to take the money until recently when you decided.
No, but we have been.
But when you decided to eat your humble pie.
But you know that we've been getting public funds that are allocated to all political parties. This money is not new, and people need to understand it. This money has been provided for political parties under the Political Parties and Organizations Act. And NUP, you need to understand that the only reason why the Museveni system decided to come up with a new law to try and do whatever they're doing was because they realized that NUP was making great strides using the money that we get. The little money we get, because we were getting only 12% of this money, NRM getting 75%. But you see what we've been able to use it for and to account for it, just not on paper, but for everybody to see what we've been able to establish in a very short time. So that's how they came up with this law and said, now you must be part of IPOD in order to benefit from public funds.
You said no, now, and later you said yes.
That's what I'm saying, that the law has changed to make it mandatory for all political parties to be in IPOD as long as you're in parliament. You just check the law, because it says that...
I know about that. What I'm wondering is that you took a stand.
Yeah.
But then after, you changed that.
So the question I'm asking is,
what made you eat your humble pie?
No, I've said that initially we said that we are not going to join something that is not a statutory organ, and we also gave other reasons. Now, these people illegally went to parliament, made a law which made it mandatory. So why is it not clear for anybody to see that our hands are tied under the circumstances until the Constitutional Court perhaps agrees with our reasoning that this law was passed illegally? But I was trying to explain that, for example, charging 3 million shillings, for nominations under the circumstances which you know very well, with very high unemployment rates, poverty rates in the country and all that. So I've been struggling, for example, we've been struggling as a party. We've supported over 150 candidates to nominate, assisting them with either full nomination fees or half of the nomination fees. But I can tell you there are many others who could not nominate because of funds, which means that there are many factors which would prevent a political party like NUP from being able to have candidates everywhere across the country. But that does not mean that it will affect our ability to win the presidential election.
You also stated that you have some potential members of parliament who should have been nominated but were compromised.
Yeah. I can't feel ashamed to say that.
That's on you and your members. That's
the Museveni system.
Of a strong political spine to
That is the Museveni system that has caused that. I've told you, first of all, that the money which they use to buy off these people is public money. It's not General Museveni's money, it's not whoever's money, it is your taxes, it's my taxes. That's the money they use to bribe these people. Now, that is why you go to hospitals and find there's no medicine. The money that should be doing that is given to someone to cross or not run under NUP. You understand? So, because like yesterday, there are candidates who even paid nomination fees for, and they were met in northern Uganda somewhere and threatened and told, you have one option. And you saw some of them being paraded with Museveni yesterday. So that's the challenge we have. But again, like I said, it is a system. The system that, people do not look at the work ethic as a solution to their problems. People, in any case, because, these people do not see any other opportunities and all that. So you see, for example, when we started out as People Power, there are many of our colleagues who were invited, coerced into joining the system. Some were appointed deputy RDCs, assistant deputy RDCs, and all that kind of thing, because, again, of the system and the environment which is here in this country. Of course, we condemn that greed, that lack of principle, and all those things. But like I said, part of the challenge is that the promises of money come with threats. That if you just take this money, and if you don't take it, such and such a thing is going to happen to you. And these are not mere threats. You've seen what has happened to several of our coordinators. Up to now, we are looking for 18 people who were abducted in the last election. You know very well that our coordinator in Karamoja was shot and killed on the streets in view of everybody after rejecting, again, a lot of offers for money and all these things. And this has happened to many of our other people. So some people who are weak-willed, you know, some of them will decide to give in and give up.
You know, talking about the issue of money and all that, your own name has been dented, especially in the people getting a flag for National Unity Platform. I've seen, you know, things running around that actually the flag was being sold. Your name came in several times. I wonder whether these are just people who are against NUP, or you actually is an indication of some slow implosion within NUP.
Of course, that is ridiculous. That's ridiculous to say the least. And we've been saying to the people out there that whoever has evidence of any kind that they have been asked for money, bring it. You know, it's I'm the Secretary General of the party, and of course I expect that people will, you know, throw around all these kinds of allegations. But we told people, bring evidence of any kind, because we've been very, very clear that if anybody, any official, whether it is a member of the Election Management Committee, anybody in the leadership asks anybody for money to get a service that ought to be free, you'd see what we would do. And you know our stand against corruption and bribery and all these things has been very, very clear. So yes, you'll see people throwing things around, of course, out of desperation. You know, first of all, you need to understand that the NUP ticket is something people cherish. People do everything to get it. You know, now we have a situation in Bukoto Central where one of our, you know, people who did not get a ticket went and fraudulently nominated himself, conspired with the Electoral Commission officials, had himself nominated. That is the extent to which people can go just to associate with the umbrella. So you wouldn't be surprised when people start making those kinds of allegations. But we've said...
The surprise alone, the modus operandi of choosing the flag bearers of your party was very suspicious, because it had to leave you all these problems.
No, but we expected them.
Yeah, you expected that.
We expected them.
Be happy.
We expected them, but I want to ask you, which process did not have those problems?
No, at the moment, what is on the spot is you.
No, let's first of all, let me tell you something. Even in NRM, where people are lining up in broad daylight, how many petitions did you have? Out of 499 MP slots, you had over 300 petitions being filed. You had people killing each other in those processes of theirs. So why wouldn't you expect that in a system like ours there will be some complaints? Even when, because that's the thing about contestation. When people contest and one does not make it, another makes it, there are bound to be all these complaints. In fact, I can tell you that the complaints that we received...
How watertight was the Election Management Committee or the verification team to be able to pick out somebody so square, you know, fairly? Because you can never know how popular the person is in their village, in their locality, unless you have subjected it to a vote.
Like I said, even where there is a vote, whether it is, DP had, for them, they had a separate ballot. You remember people running away with ballot papers and doing all sorts of things. I've given an example of what was happening in NRM and other parties. But one thing I can tell you is that for sure NUP would want to do a free and fair election. That's our desire. But again, because of the environment, we're not able to do it. You know very well that we ourselves amended our constitution to provide for elections.
I can imagine you were on the team that is trying to verification control.
No, I'm trying to explain that if it wasn't about the constitutional problem, for example, you know that NUP amended its constitution, gave it to the Electoral Commission. It took all that time until a group of, regime-sponsored people went to court again and blocked our constitution. So where would NUP base itself to have the kinds of elections that you're talking about? Because for elections to be there, there must be structures. And those structures are the ones, at least according to our constitution.
Just imagine for your own case, you are Secretary General of the party, an important figure for National Unity Platform, and you are running for MP Kampala Central, and there are other people who are interested in running also in NUP. I mean, unless the people of Kampala Central have gone through a primary and have chosen David Louis Lubongoya, the other contenders would never think it is fair.
First of all, I'll tell you that we are always mindful of conflict of interest issues, and we try to address them.
But this is what really raises conflict of interest.
But that's why I'm explaining to you that, for example, in any matter that touches me as an individual, I must declare my interest, the conflict of interest, and ensure that I do not participate in any matter that touches me. That is why you saw me working very, very hard, trying to harmonize with the candidates with whom I was interested in this particular seat. If I knew that I would have it my way, there wouldn't be reason for me to sit in long meetings trying to persuade each other, because we did that for all our candidates. People sat with each other, tried to harmonize. We had candidate-led harmonization, party-led harmonization, etc., etc. So yes, our system may have some, like any system, like I said, even where you have you know, people lining up, there are bound to be some issues. But I can tell you that we did our best, the best we could, to select the best candidates who would represent our values and who will represent our aspirations and all that.
But you have a number of independents, people who have defied you.
But
you see, for example, in Busiro, the Honorable, I think, Medadi Segona was not very happy.
Is that surprising? You see, I'm giving you reference points. I'm telling you that even where people line up and an election is done in broad daylight, people have run independent. You know, just see how many NRM people are running independent. Maybe up to 70% of the people who did not get the party flag are running independent.
Hasn't that system left you bruised?
Absolutely not. The point I'm making is that in political contestation, you expect all these things because, and we expected them because we know that where you have 2, 3, 4, or 10 candidates, there has to be only one.
So explain to me how the verification committee and the management committee for the case of Busiro could not see the value, the debating skill, the chairing of COSASE, and all these things in Honorable Segona for you to say, don't come back.
And what are those values that are missing in the Honorable Alukaga, who was given the flag? Why do you think that he did not deserve the flag at all? So the point is that there are different parameters which the election management committee looks at. They don't wake up out of the blue and say, now this is the person we like, this is the person we don't like, and all that. We came out very clearly and said that in this particular election cycle, the ground would account for 60%. Vetting would account for 40%.
Let me put it to you, Honorable David Rubongoye, that this was more or less like a purge of those who were more with the Honorable Matthias Mpuga. If you're so close, then you became endangered.
I don't think
I've seen it with the Bagala. I've seen it with the Honorable Bagala. I've seen it with Honorable Segona and others.
And so what happened
you're close to Matthias Mpuga, then
are you suggesting
you're like
that
you're like you've drunk from a poisoned well?
Are you suggesting that, for example, our Deputy President, Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, you know, people at some point said, oh, there's a purge of people who came from DP. But our Deputy President is Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi. You have Honorable Betty Namboze Bachileke. You even had some MPs who really had some issues with the party.
I have seen people who are so close with Honorable Matthias Mpuga.
I can give you examples. I just don't want to give names.
Have had trouble to get a flag. So
no, but I can tell you that that was not. But I've told you that even right now, some of the candidates we have, we are definitely close to that group at some point. For us, we look out for the values that we represent. It's not in our interest to know who your friends are and all that, but the principles which we stand for, the values which we stand for.
What are your values?
What's that?
What are your values?
You don't know the values are summarized in a short word called DRIPS: discipline, reliability, inclusiveness, integrity, patriotism, service.
So those are the colleagues.
Those are the values of the national platform.
The Mpugas and the Segonas of this
world. No.
We're short on integrity?
No, what I'm trying to tell you is that, and the fact that a person did not get the flag does not mean that they missed out on all the values. Because, like I said, we had 60% and 40%. Someone might be a very good debater. Someone might be an intellectual. Someone might be very good with, you know, having all these parliamentary skills that you're talking about. But when you go to the ground, where the people are, because it's the people who vote, they say, no, we don't want this person. or we are tired of this person. And the party believes in people power. We cannot, stand up and say we are going to insist on this person when the people are saying no. So what we did as a national unity platform was to follow the process which we put in place. And we cannot have exceptions. When you set rules, you must follow them for everybody across the board.
Yeah, but it is not, that people power is not reflective in a group of few who are going to, you cannot say because it is a committee that has taken a decision, it's reflective of the people power on the ground.
But I think you'll see that with the election results that will come out.
Probably that's a better answer.
Yeah, you'll see the results that will come out. You'll see that actually the people we selected have connection with the people on ground. I can tell you you're going to see it in just a few months. You'll see that the election management committee of the party and the teams they sent out to the ground actually reflect the pulse of the people, as we like to call it.
So, are you in this to win it?
Oh, yes. You mean the presidential election?
Yes.
Yeah, we are in to win it. And for good reason, because, for us, there are real issues. Right now, as I speak, Dr. Kizza Besigye is in detention without trial. We have political prisoners who are at Chitalia. The likes of Machete, all these comrades who are there, Kato, Uma, and others. You have people like Bobby Young, who are at APA. You have Eddie Mutwe, you have Alex Waisa Mfumbiro, our deputy spokesperson, who is in prison, Achileo Chivumbi and others. So we are not in this just as a joke. We have 18 people who are still missing from the last election. We have all these violations that are going on, people being chased off their legs very violently, people being murdered in broad daylight over flimsy things. You've been seeing the road carnage, the accidents that are happening, avoidable accidents that are happening on our roads, partly because of the poor road network, the poor enforcement of road safety regulations and all these challenges that we have. So all these are problems that are affecting the people, the poverty, the failed education system, the sick healthcare system. So there is good reason for us to fight to win this. Because we are not in this for a joke, we want to be able to change this country. We want to begin from the foundations and redeem this country from the mess in which it finds itself.
NRM talks about 70,000 villages.
Yeah.
These 70,000 villages, at every village they have about 30 people. These are 30 leaders, not just people who are going to vote. And if these 30 leaders at every village bring in one or two people, I mean, that's a very big number of people who are already committed as foot soldiers of NRM. That's a juggernaut that it's very hard to beat, because it has a record of having beaten you. I'm sure now they are like, bring them on again.
First of all, you speak as if you don't know that NRM is just, has always survived on deception. The other time they were giving false figures. You know that in their yellow book, they have, when we were in Kawempe North, they said they had, I think, 20,000 people, or 200,000 was it, registered voters in that area. But how many people voted for them? They made all these wild claims, saying, they were having a big structure in Kawempe North. When the votes came out, they were even struggling, and we were at the Tally Center, they were trying to add, where they had 30, they added 0 to make 300 and all that.
And I mean, look, probably you will field candidates in about 60% of the constituencies for parliament. And the other 40% you want. And for a presidential candidate, for a member of parliament, when you go to campaign today in Kampala Central, you're not only campaigning for yourself, but also campaigning for a presidential candidate. It adds value. It brings in more people. So in 40% of the areas in constituency for MPs, you will not have a voice of somebody who will keep reminding the people about himself and your presidential candidate.
You see, our campaign does not need a lot of what you're talking about. The people of Uganda live in oppression. Every day Museveni campaigns for us because of the terrible system he has created. When people wake up and they are hungry and the teachers are on strike because he's paying science teachers better than the arts teachers, he's campaigning for us. when he does not construct roads and the money that is meant for roads is being used for very useless things, that is his campaigning for us. When he does not extend electricity to the people of West Nile, his system is campaigning for us. So I can tell you that we don't need those foot soldiers you're talking about to be everywhere campaigning for us.
I think you do.
Where we are able to, we shall put them there. But I also want to tell you that...
Because that means in 40% of those areas, it will be hard for you even to have...
let me ask you a question.
Even have the agents.
Let me ask you a question. If you're projecting his strength as if you're projecting it, why do they block us from going to radio programs? Why do they block us from having our rallies the way we should be having them? Why do they keep arresting our people every day? Why do they arrest our polling agents on election day? Why do they engage in massive rigging and ballot stuffing? Things which are clearly on record.
Does it concern you that if you do not have candidates in 40% of the area, then you also don't have the agents?
I've told you, first of all,
the agents there to begin with.
I've told you that, first of all, we need to understand why. And I've already answered that. It would be our desire to have candidates everywhere, because we want our values to be projected everywhere we go. But the system, the criminal regime, makes it impossible for you to have all these candidates where you want to have them. First of all, by intimidating them, buying some of them out, and in many cases, just creating, like I told you, this 3 million that they are charging is impossible for many young people to afford. And then, in addition to that, they come and cripple NUP and make sure that it does not have funds. Remember, under the Political Parties and Organizations Act, there is a limit to how much a political party can raise in terms of fundraising. So they put a cap there, then they start following up to see who is funding the party and all that and all that. So they are limiting you from getting resources while making sure that even the money that you should be getting as a political party is blocked. So with all these challenges in mind, the question should be, what is the solution then? And I can tell you that the solution for us is to push our message using all means possible.
Right. David Lewis Rubongoya, Secretary General of the National Unity Platform and candidate for MP. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight is the Secretary General of the National Unity Platform and candidate for Kampala Central Member of Parliament, David Lewis Rubongoya. You know, like I said, you're running for Kampala Central. There's a question that I've been gating. The moment we just advertised or made a promo that you're coming on this show, I kept on receiving a question. Why is Rubongoya running in Kampala Central? Why can't he go in his village?
why shouldn't he?
I must be very categorical. This is not my question.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that you've asked that. I've answered it a number of times. I've lived in Kampala, for close to 20 years. I largely do my work here, and I think it's important, if you're running, to actually represent the people who face similar challenges that you face every day. So if this is a place where I work, where I do my businesses, where I have my family, which better society should I represent than that? Because those are the challenges I live with every day. If it's about potholes, if it's about high taxes, if it's about the electricity infrastructure, if it's about internet, if it's about access to income for young people and all that, if it's about the sports infrastructure, all those challenges I deal with them, I live with them every day. So I think it would be very, very unfair for you to say you go and represent where you last lived for 20 years ago, maybe, that you should go and represent those people just because you migrated from there. It would be unfortunate. And I can tell you that if you look at majority of the leaders, for example, within Kampala, they are not originally born in Kampala. They've come from different places. One will have come from Mityana, another from Butambala, another from, wherever, from PG, another from Kabale, wherever. And they come, but because they work here, they live here, the challenges of this area, the challenges are the challenges which they interact with every day. They find that this is the most appropriate place for them to represent. But again, for me, I don't look at leadership just as, you're representing a constituency. This country has a crisis of leadership, and I think it's very, very important for all of us who mean well for this country to get involved. to get involved. We are at such a critical time with so many challenges in this country, and we've said that we look at that parliament as an opportunity, as an avenue for us to make a contribution to the lives of the people, but above all, to try to restore the rule of law and to give hope to the millions of Ugandans who have lost that hope.
Kampala Central constituency is a key constituency because I think even the parliament is there, State House is here, Nakasero, you know, the Central Business District is here. Almost quite a big percentage of Uganda's economy also runs somewhere within Kampala Central. And I can imagine the NRM will also be super focused on Kampala Central. Yours must be a monumental challenge.
Yeah, absolutely, but we are made for challenges. And I can tell you that, you know, even in the face of insurmountable odds, people who love their country can change it, people who love their constituencies will change them and will transform. But like I said, and like we've already said, our hope and our trust is not in, you know, people with billions, it's through the common people of Uganda. And I've moved around Kampala Central. I've gone to all the 20 parishes. And I can tell you that, you know, people have been very, very receptive because they feel that all of a sudden they can have an opportunity to have a person who will speak for them, who will not impose his or her own ideas on them, but who will actually represent them. I can tell you that some of the candidates who I saw come up have, you know, had their chance to play a role, and they have failed completely. You know, if you've been, you know, having a role, even a more important role than a member of parliament, to try and transform the lives of the people, and you've not done that, you know, people cannot trust you. You cannot rely on a person who created the mess to fix it. So people want a new voice, people want, and people have seen what we've been able to do in the different spheres that we've been in. People have seen the passion, the zeal with which we approach leadership. And so the people of Uganda will determine who the leaders are, and I am sure that the people of Kampala Central will definitely trust me with that mandate, because they surely know that they will have somebody who will represent them.
But you know, you're also, you know what you're up against, because you have a formidable lady who's a minister in Kampala, who's been around and, you know, of course, with the support of the government and of a party that has resources than you. It's not going to be a walk in the park.
Like I said,
it's not going to be a walk in the park.
Like I said, my trust is in the people of Uganda. I wouldn't want to look at a particular individual, because again, people will look at the track record. You know, you just talked about if you've been a minister. You know, if you're a member of parliament, your role is to legislate, to do oversight, to represent the people. You know the roles of a member of parliament. But if you're a minister, you even go beyond a member of parliament and you do execution. So if you've not been able to execute, how can you say, now I just want to represent? So I think the people in Kampala definitely know who has a track record that they can rely on and who does not have. And again, I think that will be reflected through the ballots that they will cast.
I've just received a message from a gentleman called Sembusi Ivan, and allow me to read it here. Yeah. Sembusi says, the truth is that it's still very difficult for your party to win the coming elections because you lack party structures on ground. For example, NRM has 30 members per village, and the other problem you still have is that you mistakenly install your strong party heads to contest in areas you have conquered or captured before, instead of securing green areas where you don't have party support and ground structures. What do you tell Sembusi?
Again, Sembusi is regurgitating what you just said, and I think the people who are watching us definitely know the truth. First of all, we need to understand, or need to ask ourselves this question: why? That's why I'm saying that before we talk about the fact that, oh, you lack this and that, the question should be why? Why? For example, NUP would want to have that presence everywhere. And indeed, we have leaders in every district. You've seen wherever our president goes, he introduces our local leaders in every district and all that. But, you know, the challenges we've faced, for example, over the past 5 years, every time you go to a district in Noya, wherever, to try and set up these structures, they will come and arrest you. They will take away your teams and keep them in detention. Sometimes they've picked up our people just for holding posters of our president. Just, they find you. Right now, there are young people who are at Chigo prison Anguli Bosiraja and group, who have been there for a very, very long time now, simply because they were, you know, in Yumbe district in Western Nile trying to put up our structures. And those guys, the state said that they were recruiting rebels. You can imagine. People whose role, who were just trying to establish structures of the party. And then the state brought charges against them. They took them to the military court. The Supreme Court said transfer these files. The state has refused to transfer them. So a person like Sembusi needs to, first of all, appreciate that. That it is not because of lack of will on the part of NUP to establish those structures. But what gives us hope is that there are many countries, countless countries, where under such circumstances, people have been able to prevail against entrenched systems, even more entrenched than the one we have here. So we believe that if the people of Uganda, each person out there does what they're supposed to do, we shall overcome. And I don't want people to be misled by that notion that NRM has 30 people per village and all that. I've given an example. We went to Kawempe. Even other by-elections, even when we were in Tsolo, you saw they had to rig elections, and it was the media covered that. Even when they were in Tsolo, even when they were in Omoro, when there was a by-election, they had to rig. These are places which they consider they are strongholds, but they had to engage in rigging because what they talk about is false. If these structures were there, those 30 people they are talking about, they wouldn't be rigging, they wouldn't be using all this impunity that we see. They wouldn't be hiring these school children and forcing them out of schools to come and attend Museveni's rallies. They wouldn't be, you know, ferrying people using trucks and all that. So those structures are not there. The people of Uganda are the structures, are our structures. The border people, the women who work in the markets, the farmers, the teachers, the medical workers, the nurses, the midwives, those are our structures.
If they ferry people, if they go to Amuru and ferry people from within Amuru to come to maybe a district headquarters for a rally, what's wrong with that?
Actually, I can tell you that it's not just in Amuru.
If they have gone to Masindi and they have ferried people within Masindi.
No, they don't do that. I mean, we were in Omoro, we were in Oyam, and they were ferrying people from the neighboring districts to come and attend rallies and all that, because again they have nothing to offer. They have no exciting message. And I can tell you, I mean, maybe you as a journalist you may not answer this question.
In the last election, President Yoweri Museveni won Western Nile, one Lango, one Acholi, and one Karamoja.
I would want to replace the word one with rigged. Rigged Western Nile, rigged Lango, rigged all these places. And there are reasons why. You see, in some of the cities, it is very, very difficult to engage in that gross rigging of elections. Because
the numbers he got 5 years ago in those regions were actually substantial.
But what I'm telling you is, are you saying that, I mean, you're a media practitioner, you didn't see the violations that took place? Why was internet switched off on the election day? And how did they transmit results from those polling stations to the National Tally Center? Have you asked yourself those questions? Why, you know, like I asked you earlier on, why is it that we are blocked from accessing radio stations? Why is it that right now if you go to Kampala, you may think that it is an NRM stronghold? Why? Because every space, the public spaces, the billboards, using state resources, they will come and capture all those places. In the last election, we tried to get billboard spaces. Everywhere we went, people told us they cannot give us billboard space because they know that tomorrow URI will come for them. So
let me end with this question from Kauma Arafat. And Kauma Arafat says, thank you, Mr. Rubungoya. And please, how prepared are you about safety of your votes around areas where you even don't have no representatives at the grassroots, like in Karamoja?
Well, like I said, first of all, we have representatives. You people have been seeing, although some of them are fake, the cards. And that's something that actually people need to focus on. Everywhere Museveni has gone, before he comes, they normally parade hundreds of people and say, these are NUP supporters who are now crossing over to NRM. So if you say we have no presence in Moyo, why are you parading people, giving them new T-shirts, giving them our party cards, and saying they are crossing over to NRM. And then you hear people like those saying NUP is not there. And General Museveni and the system themselves are confirming that NUP is everywhere, because everywhere they go, they have to parade. They have to go. You've seen them everywhere they go. They say, this is a NUP chairman for this sub-county. He has now crossed to NRM and all that. So that, first of all, shows you that we have presence all across the country. But our people work under a lot of intimidation. They work under so many challenges. In Karamoja, I've given an example that our brother Lochoto was shot dead. And, you know, up to now, there has been no investigation. There has been nothing. And so some of our leaders even fear to come out in the open to do particular activities because of that environment. For us, what we've been challenging Museveni and his system to is a free and fair election. Let there be a free and fair election. Let the internet be there. Let the radio station be allowed to announce the results as they are coming from the polling stations, as it happens in other countries. In other countries, there's something called exit polls. Let there be exit polls. Let there be a free and fair election. Let the observers be accredited and allowed to, you know, observe the election. Let people be allowed to campaign the way, you know. So that's our challenge to them. If you say that you have support,
I want to thank you, but let me maybe conclude. There's a lady in Kasese who says, I'm not convinced. A lady called Grace, who says, I'm not convinced by Mr. Rubongoya. He also adds that Mr. Rubongoya is covering up something, that he's a hypocrite. I don't know what else, Grace, you know about Rubongoya, but
what do you mean by that? I don't get the point. I don't get the message.
Well, maybe Grace, I wish you could make it more clear for Mr. Rubongoya.
But of course, for Grace, I mean, when you're speaking to the public, you don't expect everybody to understand and to get the point 100%. What I can tell her is to trust change, that change is possible, and play her part in this process in which we're trying to bring about changing.
We started this program on Thursday night. I don't want to go up to Friday morning. So what's going to be your concluding remark?
Well, my concluding remark will be, first of all, to appreciate the people of Uganda for the massive, massive support, the love they have showed to our president wherever he goes, the zeal that I see in young people. I mean, every time I get a chance to be on the trail, I see the hope in these young faces, people whose future has been stolen by this system. You know, people, you just go to the last census report and see people are not educated, they've not got an education, they are not employed, so they are there. They're just there. They are not educated, they have not got an education, they are not employed, and they're there in society. And they are a very, very big number of people. Those are the people you see every day at the airport going to Arab countries to look for what to do and all that. So I can say that the hope is exciting, but all that hope will mean nothing if we do not transform it into votes. And what we want to call upon the people of Uganda to do is to increase the voter turnout. Come out and vote in large numbers. Protect your vote.
Mr. David,
we shall get there.
David Louis Rubongoya, Secretary General of the National Unity Platform, I want to thank you so much for the time you've given us, and I want to thank you who has been watching this program for the company you've given us, for the privilege of your company. And I know we're going into an election, something can get very heated, but as Ugandans and even us as media, we are saying so far so good, and perhaps we pray that this continues like this, because people should not be tearing each other because of a vote. For heaven's sake, there's only one job of a president, about 500 jobs of members of parliament. We are 45 million Ugandans. Let us not make this vote divide us. We are better than this, Uganda, and we can do this in a better way. Good night and God bless Uganda.